The house was small, deep in the woods near a quiet river, the kind of place that smelled of cedar and rain. Jason stepped out first, carrying their bags while Lila stood by the car, just watching. "It's beautiful," Jason said, unlocking the door. Lila tilted her head. "It's quiet." "Too quiet?" he asked. "No, just right." Inside, the house was simple: two worn chairs, a tiny kitchen, and a bed. Jason smiled. It felt like something out of a forgotten storybook. "I can make some tea," he offered. Lila shook her head softly. "Let me." She moved slowly through the kitchen, knowing where things were before opening drawers. Jason noticed. "You've been here before?" She hesitated. "A long time ago." He didn't press. He was learning to let her speak on her terms. That was part of loving Lila, patience without pressure. That night, they sat by the fire, wrapped in a blanket. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees. Jason watched the flames dance in her eyes. "Do you miss anything?" he asked. Lila looked at him. "I never had much to miss, but sometimes I wonder what it would have been like to grow up normal, to have friends, a mother who stayed." Jason took her hand. "You have me now." She looked down. "That's what scares me." "Why?" "Because you are the first real thing I've ever had, and real things can break." Jason leaned in, kissed her forehead. "I'm not going anywhere." Lila closed her eyes, and for the first time in days, she smiled. Barely, but it was there. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the trees. Lila was already outside, barefoot, standing by the river. Jason watched her from the window. Her white dress fluttered slightly, like she was part of the wind. He joined her. "Do you always wake up this early?" he asked. "I like the way the world feels before it remembers its pain." Jason stood beside her in silence. The river flowed gently, and the birds chirped like nothing bad had ever happened. "Tell me something real," she said. Jason thought for a moment. "When I was little, I used to think the stars were holes hooked in heaven so people who died could peek through." Lila smiled again, bigger this time. "What about you?" he asked. "I used to think the forest was alive, that it listened, protected me, especially when I was sad." "Maybe it did." Lila did not reply, but her fingers brushed his, then gently laced with them. Over the next few days, something began to shift. They cooked meals together, walked the woods, laughed. Sometimes Jason read to her by the fire, and Lila slowly began to open. She told him she used to sleep in abandoned houses, that she would run away young, that her father had left, and her mother had never been the same. She spoke of loneliness like it was a language, and Jason listened like it was sacred. "You are not cursed," he told her one night. "You don't know that," she whispered. "I know what love feels like, and this," he touched her heart, "is not a curse." One evening, they danced in the room to a dusty old radio. No rhythm, no music really, just footsteps and laughter. Jason held her close, forehead against hers. "I think we found something most people never do." Lila nodded, eyes shining. "And I think I'm starting to believe it's real." They kissed then, slowly and tender, not like the first kiss at the altar, but one full of choice, of trust. That night, Lila whispered in the dark, "I love you." Jason smiled, eyes closed. "I know." But not everything was behind them. Outside the house, the forest stirred, not with malice but memory, as if the land itself remembered a girl who had once cried among its trees and was now learning how to be loved. And somewhere in the distance, a soft wind carried an old name, Lila. But for once, it didn't sound like a warning. It sounded like a blessing. Months passed, the world outside had changed, but so had Jason and Lila. Love had become their rhythm. Quiet, steady, healing. They still didn't talk too much. They didn't have to. One evening, Lila stood barefoot by the river again, sunlight dancing through her hair. Jason watched her from the porch, his heart full. "You look like you belong here," he said. Lila turned, smiling softly. "I think I do now." She walked up to him, took his hand. "I want to go back," she said. "To the town?" Jason asked. She nodded. "I'm ready." When they returned, people stared again, but this time it was different. The girl who once walked with her head low now held her husband's hand. She looked them in the eye, and Jason never left her side. At first, the whispers returned, but softer now, cautious. "He still loves her. She saved old Mr. Ajayi's cat last week." Bit by bit, the town began to see what Jason had seen all along. They saw how Lila helped the school plant a garden, how she mended clothes for free and left them on doorsteps, how she sat with the widow down the road every Sunday afternoon, just sipping tea in silence. And people started to change. One morning, a child ran up to her and handed her white flowers. "Are you a forest fairy?" he asked, wide-eyed. Lila crouched down, smiling. "Something like that." Jason's sister was the first to apologize. "I was wrong," she said. "I didn't know her. I didn't try." Jason smiled. "It's not too late." Then came his best friend, bringing homemade bread, and co-workers dropping by the house with awkward but sincere hellos. Slowly, cautiously, the world that had once cast her out began to welcome her in. It wasn't about forgetting the past, it was about choosing a different future. One Sunday, the church bell rang again, this time for a community picnic. Jason and Lila showed up with homemade zobo and yam fritters. The same people who once whispered kept space for them at their tables. As the sun began to dip behind the hills, Jason gave a short toast. "I married the girl no one wanted," he said. People kept quiet, but I know now it wasn't because she wasn't worthy. It was because we weren't ready to see her. Lila looked down, emotional. Jason lifted her hand. "I'm grateful every day that I didn't listen to fear, that I chose love, and that she chose me back." There was silence, then clapping. Not polite, not forced. Real. Seasons passed. People came often, bringing stories, fresh bread, children who liked to hear Lila talk about plants and stars, and rivers that sing if you listen closely. Lila still had quiet days. She still walked barefoot in the woods, still paused at window sills to leave flowers for empty houses. But now, people waited to see what she would plant next, what she would say. They had finally learned the strange girl was never cursed. She was just a little ahead of the rest of them. And every night, after the guests were gone and the candles were out, Jason would pull her close and whisper, "I still see you." Lila would smile, no longer faint, but full, and reply, "And I still choose you." Thank you for watching.